I was on a break for 5 months and I was streaming most of it. The first few months I was having fun, I was making a lot of money and just generally having a good time and enjoying it. And then towards the end, nothing really changed except some days I just didn't feel like doing it. I was like, oh, I gotta stream 10 hours today, but I don't really feel like doing that much. And then I was watching LCS. LCS had just started, and then I was watching it. I'm like, this feels weird. It feels like I belong there. Like, it just feels weird to watch LCS, and I'm not a part of LCS. So, yeah, and then I started making plans to come back as soon as possible. I was definitely like, it definitely gave me a lot of perspective on everything, but I'm really glad I took the break, because if I didn't take this break, I might still be a pro, but I might like resent it, or I might not be as motivated as I am now.
Welcome back for Game 2 of Cloud9 versus Team Liquid. Good to hear Double his thoughts there as he has come back from his break, maybe a little earlier than he expected.
Yeah, I mean, he had an interview with Travis as well as he announced the comeback, and he said he was looking around for a lot of NALCS teams because he just wanted to scrim with them. And then it just so happened that Team Liquid said, I'll do you one better, come actually play for us. And then they signed a contract through the end of Spring Split. So it's really just power practice essentially for him because he recognizes that he's a very competitive person and he needs this competition in his life.
And look, you know, expecting a little bit of rust, Red Buff executes notwithstanding. Double is still looking pretty clean, landing looking good, managed to get that kill 2v2, but I mean, Cloud9 just took over the back half, back 2/3 of that game.
Exactly, and Smoothie was a great support as always, as Kobe mentioned on the desk. Impact was player of the game, but you look at this gold graph and it's just how much better C9 was after 25 minutes because Team Liquid had built a decent advantage that they were kind of holding on to, and then just play after play would go in C9's favor, and they really understood how to close out this game, and that's, as we keep saying, why they're first place and Team Liquid's not.
Yeah, I mean, the complete opposite, unfortunately, for them. But things can improve, of course. The other news, of course, for Cloud9 is that Ray is coming into this game. Hasn't played too many games in the NALCS this split. Only 5, and his record is 2-3. Not great for the #1 solo queue player, but I think this is a pretty obvious time to get Ray in.
Exactly. They really believe in this guy from an organizational perspective, and they want to get him reps on the LCS stage. Every time he has not necessarily performed on the LCS stage, he's kind of rededicated himself to solo queue. He's recently reached rank 1 on the NA solo queue ladder, and looks like Reaper wants to give him another chance. Usually this is how we see him subbed in, up in a series or starting a series, and then you bring him in. We did see that one time he was subbed in when they were down in a series, and he did not manage to salvage much, and he's kind of yet to have his first good game in the LCS for Cloud9.
And it does feel like whatever it is, on-stage nerves, not having as much practice with the team, just not having as much stage experience. I mean, he was a sub on other teams before. He was a starter last season for Apex. Like, he's clearly played a decent number of games, but this guy's a, you know, a solo queue lord. He's played so many games, constantly grinding away when he's not practicing or with the team. Like, I've seen him go off in games. Individually, he has so much talent, and Cloud9 clearly recognizes that as well, but it's just not converting, and I think he does go back to his old split push habits a lot of the time, and Cloud9's kind of like, okay, we got to try and play this game now, whereas they'd much rather play together. I mean, Impact's team fight him, won him a player of the game last game.
Yeah, and that's also the thing we have to keep in mind whenever we're talking about Ray subbing in for Impact, is he subbing in for Impact? The best, potentially best top laner in North America was the All-Star last year, now is definitely in the conversation with Hanser and some others for the very best, and Impact has the most player of the game awards. He's a former world champion. He does all of these things. So for Ray to come in and even be close to his level is probably asking too much. But once again, up 1-0 in a series against TL, who had an early lead that you're not expecting them to get again, seems like a safe time to sub him in.
Well, Coach Reaper definitely helping out the team while they set up. Jensen leaning back in his chair. I believe it was a hand warmer.
Yeah, this is a go-to for Jensen. His relaxed
back.
posture.
Yep. Oh, he's back. All right. I saw Reaper also adjust Ray's microphone for him, so clearly helping out on all aspects of the coaching, from in-game strategy to on-stage posture and or necessities. We have a minute or two to go. Ray's, of course, getting things set up. When we do have a sub, they have to make sure all their settings work, much like any pro player playing on stage will, but shouldn't be too far away from our second game here, and see if TL can, A, continue to get leads, because that was the obvious place for them to succeed, and they did show up well there, but kind of run away with the game more. If they can play a cleaner looking game around the map, that'll look amazing. very doubtful against the likes of Cloud9. So I think Liquid have to be looking that we're good players, we can get an early lead, let's try and get a lead and then run away with the game before Cloud9 kind of have a chance to get themselves back into the game.
Yeah, for as solid as Cloud9 have been, they have one of the longer game times in North America. I think some of this is because they're not great in the early game, and some of it could also just be because they don't need to win fast. A win is a win. It actually doesn't matter if you're winning super quickly. They have been very good at controlling the map in the mid and late game as far as just rotations and picking very good scaling and great teamfight composition. So you kind of saw the results of that in the last game where they had a good teamfight composition with solid scaling and then just made sure not to tilt and were very good at playing defensively throughout the first 25 minutes of the game before they could kind of turn it on.
Yeah, and then kind of once they found those picks, able to convert very quickly. You can kind of see all the setup and shot calling that goes into Cloud9's mid and late game decision making, and it did pay off there. I think for Liquid, maybe the one other adjustment they can make is Piglet. Had a decent looking Rise game, solo killed Jensen, who is one of the hardest players to land against, period, in the NALCS. I think Piglet just needs a champion that enables his team a little bit better. If Rainover's going to be diving in, if Double F's wanting to play aggressive and carry the back end of fights, give Piglet just a bit more of a playmaker.
Exactly. He played 5 different champions in his 6 games last week, and you always wonder kind of how big his champion pool is. This is a recently converted mid laner. I really liked his Cassiopeia as far as the type of champion he'd play for the team fighting phase, and Rise didn't quite seem to be able to get it done, but it's not like it's a bad pick.
I mean, look, Piglet is an aggressive player in bottom lane. He's going to be aggressive in the mid lane, so enable that and maybe we'll have a bit more success. We'll see if they do change it up in the draft. There was into champion select for game number 2. Ray is in, Malzahar is out, and so is Shen as Team Liquid's first ban here. Don't expect too much to change here as far as the bans go. Again, metagames looked very open, but a lot of teams just kind of decide that some champions do not like playing against. Everything else is fair game, though.
Yeah, I mean, especially with Maokai nerfed heavily, I think Shen is reaching that level of potentially being permabanned. Also, like the Graves ban by Cloud9, was very surprised that Rainover didn't play last game.
Had a decent-looking Rengar game, but I have to agree that his Graves has looked a number of levels better, as there's the Varus ban from Team Liquid, taking away again probably the only champion, maybe with LeBlanc, maybe Graves / Shen, that's been sitting in that must-ban status. And then Cloud9 with 1 ban to go. We'll see what they want to take away from Team Liquid here. But shouldn't be anything too crazy.
Yeah, I mean, even just thinking of the stuff that found success last game, you're not able to point to a specific champion and say, oh, we definitely can't let them get that again. So not expecting too many change-ups in the ban phase. Another Rumble ban in the same slot, even though it's a different team on that side, making sure C9 cannot first pick it.
Rumble real good, so we're going to take that one away. Ray again, definitely more of a carry player, but has been playing a lot of tanks in his games here on Cloud9. Seems like, again, the practice he is getting with the team. They're trying to integrate him completely as a top laner and not just kind of plugging him in as their split pusher. We know his tendencies, but to Ray's credit, he's trying to kind of play more with his team and with Cloud9 rather than just for himself. So that's the first pick, Rengar.
Got to get him in line with the way the rest of C9 wants to play. First pick, Rengar with Graves banned this time. A little bit better. Another really early Lulu pick by Team Liquid. It worked early for Matt, but then did not lurk in the mid and late game.
Well, there's Rainover taking Kha'Zix, so pretty standard response jungler-wise, but I wonder if Liquid might change their AD carry. Jhin looks fine for double if, but if Lulu's going to try and get a hyper carry going, you'd want something more like the Caitlyn, even something like Tristana, which has also seen some play, or even Sivir, which is maybe a bit more meta from recent weeks. Yeah. There are options here for Team Liquid, as there's a Camille for Cloud9.
Yeah, it's very true. There's so many different directions that Team Liquid could potentially go with their new players, but looking at C9, they're just drafting pretty strong once again. Renekton Camille is a lane you actually see a lot when a Camille does get through, so not a bad matchup by any means. But Ray, that would seem like his type of champion. He generally likes to build the heavy damage on his champions, and now having the Karma that can also shield him when he gets in there can make it better. Well,
we are swiftly through phase 1 of this particular draft, so we'll see what Team Liquid decide to ban away here. Looks like picks have been mirrored as well, so we'll see if the teams want to target out champions or really pick on a laner and take down a role. It's actually Jace is the first ban from Team Liquid, so...
Yeah, this is a situation where Piglet can get the last pick. Unfortunately, though, there's still a lot of stuff up like Syndra and even Rise that Jensen could just blind pick and be totally fine with. I like the fact that Cloud9 banned the Cassiopeia, since I did feel like that was potentially Piglet's best champion in the last week of his mid lane play.
20 seconds now for Team Liquid. to ban out their second champion. We're going to keep seeing solo lane bans, so they pivot to maybe an AD carry. Probably not here. I think Liquid might want to just push Jensen a little further down or just take a threat off the table for Cloud9, but certainly deliberating this ban pretty heavily. Almost running down the clock all the way down. David Lynn nods his head, and there's that Syndra ban.
Yeah, just trying to make it so Jensen doesn't have the same level of blind pickable mid laners. A lot of mid lane bans. This, you'd think, would benefit Cloud9, as Jensen should have a much larger champion pool than Piglet, since he's been playing the role for years.
Yeah, I think so as well. See if Liquid actually pick a mid laner out of this phase. Now it's Double F's turn to pick for his team. Of course, he could go for an AD carry here. He's got first pick, actually, except for Varus, which was banned away. So Team Liquid might want to take that away instead. Although maybe blind pick Ahri for Piglet, leaving Double Lift with the counter pick. Yeah, there's Ahri.
Yeah, the thing is, you can't really deny Double Lift the same ADs he did last game. Things that are still available for him that were not available last game would be the Ezreal, the Ashe, and the Sivir. Can pick any of those. Ahri, as well, was effective for Jensen, is a relatively blind pickable mid laner as far as having good wave clear and not many negative matchups. So I understand why they would do it here, but really giving the power to Double Lift.
It's going to give Jensen his opportunity to counter pick here. Looks like Sneaky might just go back to Ezreal. Seems pretty safe. Karma, Ezreal, very stable bottom lane here. So they'll take that. And then we'll see what the last pick is here for Cloud9. Not Ivern, is my guess.
Probably not. So C9 has an interesting comp here, as they like to flash the Draven at Double Lift, something he was been tweeting about wanting to see in the LCS. But super dive buddies with the Rengar and the Camille, both just trying to fly in. That means the rest of the C9 team need to be very mobile in their own sense. So looks like they just added a third diver into the mix, and that means, once again, the Ezreal is pretty much the only thing Sneaky could play. Otherwise, he'd have no protection. So a logical draft by Cloud9.
Yeah, again, I think it makes a lot of sense. Jensen's Echo has looked so good as well when he has played it, so probably comfortable in that matchup. Might give Cloud9 another angle of attack if Jensen does want to change his summoner spell to something like Teleport. And there's the Draven Double Lift!
He's doing Draven against 3 divers in this game. Ezreal obviously not available as far as the overall mobility would go. I'm excited to see it for sure, because he's had a lot of confidence on the pick, and they do have the Lulu to help enable, but man, that's a tough task to stay alive against Camille, Rengar, and Echo.
I mean, compositionally certainly feels difficult, but if you're going to pick Draven into a lane, I think you're very happy with Karma Ezreal being your opponent. I mean, I'm expecting Team Liquid's bottom lane to be insanely aggressive, and Brennev is probably going to pay some attention there as well.
Yeah, and if there was any question about how much autonomy Double Lift was going to have early on with Team Liquid, whether they'd say toe the team line, just play the picks we're used to playing, or just do whatever you think is best, man, because we brought you in because we think you're really good. It's the latter. The Draven coming out with pretty much Double Lift as the sole guy who thinks it's real good right now and making a pro play. I'm excited to see it.
I'll say, like, philosophically, I think this fits way more with how Double Lift wants to play, but also matches the Lulu pick that Team Liquid are prioritizing highly as well. I mean, Liquid know that if they're going to win, it's going to be a pretty messy-looking game. Draven's kind of champion that's happy to play clean up if the fights start to go sideways. And if Team Liquid have their way, they certainly will.
Yeah, and it's not like Cloud9 necessarily has the tank line, so if he does snowball ahead, I know Bloodthirster is a very popular early item on Draven, makes him a little bit harder to dive on, so if he does get those kills going, he could just kind of plow through the C9 team, but those are what-ifs and not super likely to happen.
I guess we'll find out relatively shortly, but a stable draw for Cloud9 and a bit of flair for Double Lift and Team Liquid as we move into game number 2. First time Draven for the NALCS this year.
That's exciting. No freeze in the league this year, so we haven't been able to see Draven. All right, when he has been spamming this on stream a lot, so he'll generally go with Ghostblade and Bloodthirster early on in the game for the lethality, as well as just the lifesteal and overshield, since Draven scales so well with just raw attack damage thanks to his spinning axe ratio.
We can see invade from Cloud9 here. It's just contracts that they can see. Put a ward down onto the Raptor camp. Seen a lot of teams at level 1 prioritize getting vision on these camps. Team Liquid actually answer with a ward from Piglet on Cloud9's opposite camp. And again, junglers love to start this camp, so teams making sure they get the requisite information.
Yeah, and the early game has not been Cloud9's forte.
No, in fact, of all the places to poke holes in Cloud9's game, the early game's been the most attackable one for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And we saw reasons of that last game. Every single lane died, but they were still able to prevail in relatively quick fashion. I think that end game time was about 38 minutes. So once again, having the early scouting on Reignover is good. We'll see what C9 can do with it.
Looks like a bit of help is forthcoming. Jensen going to help out with a time winder over the wall. Piglet actually maybe trying to disrupt this a little bit. Actually going to move into position.
Well, he would love to throw a Q over the wall and get some of these last hits.
No,
The fact that he gets that stops Contracts from getting level 2 on this.
Oh, he actually got
a
one?
small amount of it. He got 1.
All right, that's good. Although Jensen's going to make him pay for it. Big Q to the face. Piglet gets caught coming back up. See just how much it affects him. Like you said, he's only level 1 still, so red buff going to take a little longer and slow him down. Reignover already level 2, moving in towards this Krug camp.
Yeah, that's a good amount of experience stolen by Piglet, so not bad.
And now Doublelift and Sneaky and Smoothie and
dear.
Matt as Doublelift's taken too much damage already.
Yeah, did start Longsword 3 pots, so he can sustain through this. And the poke back is not inconsequential. I'm expecting a pretty aggressive early bottom lane. I'm wondering how much jungler influence is going to happen in this lane. Contracts is not pathing that way, and neither is Reignover, so at least now you wouldn't expect Doublelift to get too aggressive because he knows the jungler's not there, but we'll have to see.
A little sad to not see Matt go Ignite again. I feel like that was, I mean, they kind of want an exhaust here, so Matt's forced to take it with Piglet having Ignite, but I think that was one of the things that helped him in the 2v2 last game was Matt able to do more damage than I think Sneaky was expecting, like got on that 2v2 kill.
Exactly. The Ignite would have been nice in lane, but I mean, you look at the composition against the Camille and the Rengar and the Echo, you'd almost hope that 2 people could have brought exhaust. With Piglet really needs that Ignite in the mid lane for lane pressure just because of the type of assassins that are in there later on in the game.
Yeah, can't afford to let Jensen just leave the lane for free. Does have the teleport as well. Actually going to use it now. Get himself back to lane. Upgrades his potion. Grabs himself a control ward. And should be looking good in the early stages of the lane. We'll see if Piglet can get the lane advantage. And maybe more importantly, I've seen Piglet leave lane a lot. That's one of his strengths as a mid laner is that he does like to roam fairly heavily and try and make plays while still maintaining good numbers in the mid lane. So maybe he can get pressured that way versus Jensen as well.
Yeah, that would be a hope. Echo is one of the hardest things to push out of lane, unfortunately.
Oh,
Look at this,
Smoothie.
though.
Exhaust is down. Very good from Smoothie. Now Sneaky going to fire back. Q's going to miss, though. Doublelift going to win that trade.
Yeah, I mean, the level 3 power from the Draven is absurd, especially when he's able to get on top there. Still heal up for Sneaky, though, but having the exhaust down, very fortunate for these guys. Doublelift probably going to want to do an early recall here, as he has burned through. He saved that. He saved one of those health potions there.
Actually roaming around to Ward, but now going to recall. Matt going to join him. Smoothie also went back, but not too much he could buy actually getting chunked out. Just has a control ward and a couple of extra biscuits. Doublelift on the other hand, early serrated Dirk. So again, this was kind of what we saw in the last game when Doublelift started to get ahead.
Very similar to Jin. He's able to get that early farming pattern off just fine.
Good dodge there by Piglet actually. Gets out from under parallel convergence. But Jensen, every time he sees an opening, able to harass down the Ahri.
Yeah, and I mean, we were talking before the aggression in the bottom lane about how hard it is to push Echo out of the mid lane. And a lot of that is because with the teleport that he can use pre-6, he's almost always keeping the wave shoving with his Q. When he hits 6, very frequently you'll see him recall, buy more items, then ult back to lane. It's just relentless, and you're going to lose minions to your own turret eventually. So expect that from Jensen to kind of keep Piglets roaming at bay.
I think he hasn't gone back yet, so will be items down, but great poke on a double lift. He's going to have to clean these minions out. As seen as bottom lane will go back. Matt able to cancel this one recall. And Smoothie actually stays smart from Cloud9, making sure they time them together so nobody gets caught out.
Yeah, they know Sneaky is still sitting on Doran's blade, so even though Doublelift did take a lot of poke, they got to feel a little bit of advantage in this lane.
Contract's also coming down. Slowly pushes up the top wave. Ray going to TP back. It's actually down 10 CS, but Camille's early game not amazing. Renekton's is excellent, so not too surprised that Lolo's ahead here.
Yeah, and TL should know now that both teleports are down. Not that it necessarily matters that much with them getting pushed in the bottom lane, but if they wanted to pull off a play bottom, they have the freedom to go a little bit more aggressive, as normally double TP is a huge burden for a lane that wants to play aggressive.
Again, Cloud9 just keeping Draven occupied. The longer he's spinning axes on minions, the better you feel about it. As Reignover actually coming down, this could be a very nicely timed gank if TL can coordinate effectively. Looks like C9 already backing off, I think having a very good idea of what was about to happen there.
Yeah, Sneaky's sitting on 1,500 gold. I mean, the early laning phase worked out great for C9 there. Smoothie did have to burn exhaust to stay alive earlier, but that's pretty much up right now, and he's able to go back and get a pretty clean buy with Boots, Tier, and Call to just try and play this lane safe.
Yep, and again, that's what Cloud9 really wants to do here. Got themselves caught out in game 1, losing a 2v2 kill. Smoothie going to pull this wave off. Double says no, no, no.
Oh.
Ooh. Takes a turret hit for it, but I'm pretty sure he won that trade.
Absolutely.
And it's kind of the early power of Draven, especially with that serrated Zerk board up. Double should have any sort of trade advantage, so kind of makes sense why Cloud9 want to play it safe, as Rainover's ducking into the enemy jungle and trying to get some vision down. He's level 6, so maybe use that ultimate to sneak into a lane and get a gank off, or surprise contracts.
Now, was he patient enough to stay in the brush? He was.
Yep, actually going to ult out already. Now contracts, instead of make a run for it, does get over the wall. Really nice hop towards Smoothie as well, but that's flashed down and should be red buff over to Rainover.
Yeah, really well played by Rainover with the red buff going to respawn right away. Sometimes the jungler would reveal themselves, but he waited for Contract to come in and really just takes advantage, hitting level 6 first.
Jensen though, still dueling. Jensen up a little bit in CS as Piglet's continually forced to take these minions under turret and try and last hit them. Definitely frustrating pressure. Don't want to be missing those ones.
Yeah, definitely not. Ari getting to that point, almost full clear with the 1Q. So very similar play patterns both these laners have. They just press Q on the mini wave and it's gone.
And then they leave and try and get somebody else killed. This Team Liquid are onto the Cloud Drake here. Pretty aggressive rotation, but it should work out for them. Rainover's early play into the jungle, creating a nice little window, and TL capitalized well.
Yeah, so keeping the early game pretty standard. Not nearly the same explosion we had pre-4 minutes in the first game, which you have to say, just based on history, favors Cloud9 as they're kind of laying this out with the Tier in the bottom lane on Ezreal and the Call. And not to mention Contracts getting pushed out of his jungle. Just the Cloud Drake is not that big of a cup.
No, Contract's actually going to answer back and steal away this Raptor camp, so things should start to look up for the C9 jungler. Rainover busy with the Krugs as Ray moving himself up and aggressively, maybe trying something in tandem here with his jungler, but instead Contracts gets a vision down. Now it's vision of Rainover, and actually going to rotate, maybe try and pick him off here, or at least get extra vision down. Very deep control ward just placed in that brush there.
Yeah, and I even got a deep ward on the other side. Smoothie also was able to get into that, so a lot of map pressure just gained by C9, which is what you want when you have the double TP, which is going to be coming up soon. If they ever see this opportunity, it gives them a lot of freedom with where they can go.
Jensen almost converted that stun, gets charmed by Piglet instead. Again, Echo is the ultimate, so Jensen happy to play nice and aggressively. Kind of a game of chicken here. But Jensen feeling confident, going to drink his potion charges and keep going in for harass when he finds windows.
Pretty much. I mean, he's got his ultimate and his TP up, so many options about being able to recall as long as he's not going to get one shot out. And as you mentioned, that corrupting potion, with how often the Echo can go back to base, just incredibly efficient to out-pressure Piglet.
Now Jensen just waiting, throws a time winder, doesn't want to waste any time. Make sure Contract deals almost the maximum amount of damage to the blue buff. That's when you know you've got a good relationship with your jungler, but he's willing to wait 5 extra seconds just so you don't have to use too much mana.
Yeah, that's a little true right there. It doesn't help Contracts that much.
No, not at all.
To recall. So the overall efficiency of that play, I feel like, is low. But it'll work. It'll work for Jensen.
Well, certainly a player that performs with resources, so not fault Jensen too much there. And again, Q battles here in the mid lane. Jensen level 9, so is Piglet, so should be maxed up now as far as their wave pushing abilities go, but like you mentioned, Jensen can leave lane and get back much faster and much more frequently. Looks like Jensen's going to hit the recall now and pick up some Merc Treads. Very good into his mid lane matchup.
Yeah, he wants to make sure that he can break out of that charm much faster, since the pattern in Ari versus Echo is generally phase diving in and then eating a charm almost anytime we're going to trade.
Sneaky getting chased down again, but ooh, Kozak's already here for TL. I think maybe afraid of extra people rotating with Jensen having TP up and being off the map. Rainover's going to take the long way around back towards the Gromp. And again, Cloud9's deep vision really paying off for them there. I think Team Liquid had an opportunity to make a play there in the bottom lane and just felt a little too unsafe to complete it.
Yeah, all the while, even though the lane isn't going huge for Double It, it's been a while since we've seen Draven. He's stacking Adoration. As long as he stays alive, there's a potential large cash out if he's able to get a kill. currently at 330 there.
I think that's actually kind of a good analysis of the early game and what Team Liquid are expecting here. Sure, they play the lane even, they're happy with that. Although, hold on, Jensen and Piglet. No stun landing there. Piglet just ulting out. Ran over bottom lane though. We're going to try and reconvert. Sneaky shifts out. Smoothie locks one down. Matt here to protect him, but teleporting from Cloud9. He's actually going to be Echo coming around the flank as well. So TL's bottom lane already low. And Cloud9 are going to go for everything here. TL needs to run further away. But Ray finds him over the wall, looking to stun up Doublelift, gets a Hextech ultimatum down, but has to stand and fight. Wild Growth is on, but the stun lands from Jensen, and Doublelift just flash out of the back end of the timeline, ulti down, but Jensen grabs first blood.
And just precision with the way C9 dove in there, but now they might be caught. TL's here.
Lola straight in, but he gets exhausted as well. Now sneaking to get chunked out. Piglet manages to pick him off on the other side. Kha'Zix falls down, as Rengar takes him out. And there's another kill for Cloud9 as Matt goes as well.
Jensen's ultimate was huge right there, holding it the whole time and waiting for the collapse to come in. C9 just calm and cool as ever, as it looked like they could have been in a tough situation. Stay on top.
Strong collapse there, and that's 3-1 up in kills for Cloud9. First blood and almost 1,000 gold in the lead as a result. Looks like no extra objectives will be obtained, but Cloud9 pretty much doing what Team Liquid managed to do in Game 1, getting themselves the early kill lead.
Yeah, and critically cutting Doublelift's Adoration in half with this kill. Was a little confused about Reignover's aggression in the first place with double TP being up, but you get to see Piglet go on.
Oh, not again, another solo kill! Jensen goes down to Piglet for 2 games straight.
Great job by Piglet's got the Proto Belt for the early game burst, more so than any type of mana sustain. You can see he's a little bit low on mana after that, but Jensen had burned everything in the early skirmish, and Piglet hit level 11 at just the right time. I mean, great job by Piglet. Actually didn't even use his ultimate. This was a non-ultimate level 10 kill.
This is a greedy Jensen, I believe.
Here? Maybe. He may have just tried to shift into him for some trades. Q's down, so he has no aggression up. Oh, the extra CS. Got him charmed. Piglet still had Ignite, which Jensen probably didn't expect since they just had a big fight. And he's like, what? He had Ignite? Okay.
Face says it all there, I think. Jensen is going to go down, but didn't hurt anything too much other than the pride. Doublelift, though, definitely hurting. Wild Growth down. Sneaky goes for the all-in, but Doublelift is going to stand and fight. Smoothie flashes in and gets the first one, and chunks out Mad, killing him through the Lulu ulti.
Exactly. They're taking so much poke from the Ezreal and the Karma when they're starting these fights. Doublelift's already at 20 or 30%, so even with the Wild Growth, they can't turn that one around. Fighting without exhaust as well. Props to C9 for winning that 2v2 and not being fearful of the Draven pick.
Well, Vampiric sets it up now, so extra lifesteal might help Doublelift in his stand and deliver moments, but unfortunately, Adorations is continually getting cut, and now Cloud9 looks to make a play on the mid turret. Jensen dodges that charm, Phase dives through it. And 50% damage under that turret, looking good. As Cloud9 again, starting to get a bit more proactive. This is the Cloud9 we saw in Game 1. Things go relatively stable in the early game, you play defensively, and then ramp up your aggression as the game goes on.
Yeah, and watching this, just the mantra Q that just pegged Doublelift at the start of that fight was really the decider, and then a smart flash forward by Smoothie there to finish off the kill. Just a very well-played duel by the C9 duo.
Nice exchange as Reignover back onto a Drake for Team Liquid. Matt going to be next to the area, so this should be an easy pickup for Team Liquid. Cloud9 got recalling this time after their 2v2 win, but the dual lane not being there and Contracts being on the top left side of the map means that that's a second Drake in a row for TL.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be pretty positive. Contracts has shown almost no priority in that area, almost always finding himself on the other side of the map. When that Drake goes down, C9 not necessarily that concerned with the Ocean Drake, since Poke, while is good in their dual lane, has really nothing to do with the rest of their strategy, since they're all in with the Camille, Rengar, and Echo. So I can understand why they would deprioritize it.
Oh, Jensen's very nice stun. Time Wonder already in. Jensen is just going to keep running for it. Proto Belt's forward trying to dodge the charm, but Reignover's there. Contract's behind, but he goes all in for it. Flashes forward, but Piglet going to kite himself under the turrets as Ray and Lolo now up to a duel here. 1v1. Stun from Lolo lands out as Ray does get the slow down. Heal back as well. Grasp of the Undying procs, and Lolo didn't fancy that at all. And I think Ray barely doesn't have his ultimate available. Yeah,
Ray weaving in those Sheen procs, very effective, but Dorlo always has that dominance in his back pocket to increase his health by about 400. So making those all-ins not as exciting. Contracts walks to reward, might be going bot lane.
There's something here, Cloud9 perhaps, but Contracts pulls pretty quickly out of that play. Karma and Ezreal, not exactly your most aggressive of duo lanes, but been making it work, getting the lane pushed up, and Jensen joining in might be the thing that really pushes this dive for Cloud9.
Yeah, I mean, they're a couple seconds away from having double TP again if they wanted it, which is why Team Liquid just has to walk away from that duo side.
Super smart from Cloud9, knowing that we don't need to overcommit to this dive. Just go down there, pressure them off the turret, and they're able to pick up the first turret goal for themselves. Ray, in the meantime, straight up to Lolo, gets himself stunned, but here's the teleport for Cloud9. Hextech ultimatum, just locking Lolo in for what feels like forever. Flash out from Lolo, but Jensen's able to chase him. Right over here, though, flash forward from Ray. Picked it up as well, but there's already one kill. Ray gets low as Ray never tries to jump on him and does take him down on the other end. Jensen gonna have to use the ulti at a really good time, but he zips away with the passive charm. He's gonna miss, and Jensen escapes.
Oh man, even though Ray traded one back, I love the idea of that play with C9 feinting a dive bottom lane and then almost immediately using the teleport to go back up top. But credit to Team Liquid for being in position to stop that. And now Matt is just mid lane.
Whimsy might be enough, but the ulti's down, almost burst down Piglet, but doesn't have enough after the health from Matt's ultimate, but Jensen phase dives back in, slaps Matt in the back, is sneaky. He's gonna look for the snipe. It's close, Matt, oh! Doesn't get two, but he gets one. Rainover falls down.
Oh man, so just barely able to keep the distance there, keeping the damage on them while playing fairly safe with that Rengar ultimate. Sneaky getting that kill has gotta feel nice.
Certainly does. Double lift. Gonna Ghost Blade in. We actually want Ray here, who's popped himself back down the bottom lane. Lolo here as well, but Jensen and Piglet doing it again. Charm lands in. Jensen gonna try and outplay a shield from the parallel conversion. Does the Proto Belt in, but Contract tries to make it happen. Piglet gets the first one. Smoothie gonna try and shut it down. Double it. Gets an assist on the attack from the ultimate, and Smoothie grabs the shutdown.
Oh man, so bit of chaos going on right there as Double have tried to get one through, but it was pretty much for nothing as Piglet fell in anyway. He got the third kill because he just seems to be able to get these kills on the backside after they've lost the fight. So it's not really helping them in the grand scheme of the game, and it's really getting out of control.
And look, Chaos in game one looked good for the early game in Team Liquid, but this time Cloud9 much faster to react together, a little slicker on these plays and just playing them a little tighter as a team. And as a result, they're the ones ahead, despite the fact that Team Liquid have what I would call, at least for their current team situation, pretty optimal situations to try and find a play.
It's what would fit for them as well, and they're hoping to be able to generate plays in any of their lanes. Piglet been able to generate a few, but then just not been able to transfer his roaming as much as you'd like. So once again, Piglet flash charm, really nice there as Jensen was hoping to turn this around. Does live long enough with his shield to have Piglet dash to the enemy side of the map, and then Smoothie was over the edge right there. Double F's ultimate really wasn't going to do much since everyone was full health, so another win for Cena.
Looking good there. Piglet clears out that wave. He's going for Lichbane second, so actually both of them are, so really aggressive builds from these mid laners. Ray tethers to a wall. Piglet still chasing, great charm. Rainover's here as well. Look at the duo, could pay off big here for Team Liquid. Ray low and Piglet gets a kill.
Nice kill, and this is probably not necessary for this cast, but when we were actually scouting Faker at Worlds, his Ahri build was Proto Belt Lichbane. We thought he was going to be bringing it out at Worlds, and I know Piglet does pay a fairly amount of close attention to Faker's mid lane, and even though we haven't seen many people do this Ahri build in Pro, it's not completely unheard of, especially when you're doing these longer skirmishes. Getting the Lichbane procs in this early can actually be worth it.
Yep, and Lolo gets the turret in bottom lane, but Piglet now has that Lichbane, and it was a while ago, of course, since Vaults, but it's also been a while since we've seen Ahri in competitive, so I think the build makes plenty of sense. A Sneaky getting aggressed on by Double Lift. Rengar ultimate is going to spot them out as C9 disengage away from the red buff. Team Liquid try and answer, but no kill is forthcoming, and Contracts did successfully steal that, I think. Maybe Piglet got it, but they're going to leave safely for now. Well, they're trying to chase somebody down, but Protobelt up from Jensen disengages that attempt as well.
Yeah, and you really have to worry for Team Liquid's chances in this game when, even after their great start in Game 1, they weren't able to convert a victory. You and I were talking in between games, you know, what does Team Liquid have to do to win a game? And especially if C9 was going to have the early game advantage, it would seem even less likely. So potentially a bit of desperation could be coming through from Team Liquid here as they were unable to hold a lead and now need to try and claw back from a deficit.
Well, Drake is up now, so a Mountain Drake is on the table for either of these teams. TL do have two of those, a Cloud and an Ocean. So as far as the Drake count goes, looking good there, but I don't even think Team Liquid can force for that objective now. Cloud9 just appear to be in too much control. 3,000 gold up is nice, but I mean, Team Liquid had this lead in game 1 and couldn't convert off it. Cloud9 looked pretty happy to play back and be a bit more defensive, now unable to make proactive plays. Well, Team Liquid, to their credit, are still trying as a dive is attempted topside, but Jensen is already out of there.
Yeah, Team Liquid already had 2 Drakes this time. It's their choice to prioritize turrets instead of the Drake, totally giving up that Mountain Drake.
That charm barely missing on the smoothie. It's 2v1 here for Piglet, making a go of it on the Ahri with that Lich Bane as double lift and Jensen going at it. Matt trying to get himself out as Jensen ulties to safety. And they're sneaky, does take out Piglet, so Piglet stayed around too long there.
Oh, wow, he tried to go for a 1v2 kill. You could see how much poke he was getting in, just kind of dashing around, getting in those Lich Bane auto attacks. Kind of a little overconfident and hoping he needed to over-carry here. I think he just pressed too hard and got turned around on.
Yeah, and that has been, I think, a signature of Piglet's play, no matter the role he's been in, as Cloud9 do get themselves the mid-outer turret and go up in turrets 3-2. So Cloud9 again, Sneaky's got a Trinity Force. We've got 2 items now for Jensen. Just everything looking good as we watch Piglet's attempts here. Yeah,
he gets the charm and pretty much full burst, but it's the exhaust that stops him from having the fatal damage onto Smoothie, and then Contrast can come in from just the side and pick up that kill.
Good cleanup there. Contract's able to nab himself a bit of extra gold. Double lift, gonna push his mid lane back out. There's a turret here for the taking, but Cloud9 into defense. Sneaky even has blue buff, so should be pretty simple for them. And Ray with a lot of swords. A Trinity Force, 2 long swords, and 2 Doran's Blades. We're going to try and get that 1v1 happening. Lolo does have 2 damage items of his own, but Ray's just in there. Stun onto Lolo. There's the ultimatum. Lolo tries to get out, but he can't right now. Going to have to stand and fight Ray, and Ray's doing so much work. Jensen able to clean this one up if he needs to. Lolo flashes into his arms, and Jensen collects it.
And that is C9's 1-3-1 strat right there. Camille just holds Renekton for so long. Doesn't matter if Ray can even win that 1v1 as long as he gets him low. And then Jensen's able to collapse and get the kill. That's a great play by C9.
Really like usage of Camille ultimate all game long as Piglet looking for another pick. Contract sniffs it out. Wards over the Raptor wall and Piglet gives up his ambitious flank attempt. And the pressure is still mounting here for Cloud9. I mean, Jensen, he's got his Lich Bane. He will shred through this turret if he's got alone time with it. I'm not even sure double lift isn't going to die if he gets powered over. I guess we might find out soon. Here's Matt. Going to try and help out double. Jensen does get whimsied. Corner breaks out, gets exhausted. Double lift wants to chase.
But they just can't catch him. Jensen always proccing that 3-hit passive, getting the move speed before ulting back, and then just kind of zooming away. So have to double check on that Draven pick, or rather check in on it. It's too often pastry time. We get super excited for this new pick.
And then it doesn't do much.
And then it just falls flat on its face. Shaco happened last week. Mordekaiser was a hit last week in the NALCS. That worked out. But this one, I mean, thanks to the call from Sneaky early on as well as the 2 kills, he's over 2,000 gold ahead of Doublelift already. Doublelift is really far behind on this Draven. He's had his Adoration stacks cut in half twice because of the 2 deaths. It's just not his game right now.
And that's the thing, right? Draven is a champion where you invest a lot in, and he can snowball aggressively if you can find that kill. Doublelift had the stacks. Team Liquid are kind of poised to probably get him his first kill and then run over the game from there. Unfortunately, instead, Doublelift died twice, and he's just continually building up these stacks and not getting any payoff for him. Again, it's a pretty good parallel to Team Liquid's attempts here in this game. There's Matt getting jumped on. Ray goes all the way over, but flashes himself out. Piglet looking for a charm, but doesn't get it. Matt barely lives through that exchange.
Yeah, surprised. I was a little surprised Ray flashed out so early. I don't think he was expecting to see that many people there. Still a pretty squishy build as well, so wanted to make sure he wasn't the one to let Doublelift cash in on Adoration and potentially let T.O. back in the game.
Says Team Liquid left defending. Red buff going to get taken here. Contract sleeps back in onto Rainover. Goes back in again. Brushes a bad news there. Rainover going to get himself killed. Flash out from under the stun, but Ray, but they'll flash forward to try and secure it. Matt there with a good save. Cloud9 do not get the bounty this time.
Rainover greedily trying to keep his red alive, and that could lead to some pretty bad things as they've lost control of their jungle from a warding perspective. The Drake they also gave up during the turret trade was the Mountain, so this is even faster of a Baron take for them.
There's something in the back as Ray dives back onto Matt, who doesn't have ultimate. Baron's already down. Jensen dives in, does get the first kill. Now Piglet's going to get locked up. They'll keep chasing, but Lolo's here with a decent flank. Jensen zips out with the ultimate, but Ray backing onto Piglet. Piglet flashes out to safety as Lolo's trying to fight. Sneaky there in the front line, goes a little too far forward, but his team is behind him, and Jensen gets the next kill onto Double F. Now Rainover gonna get jumped on and dove under the turret. That should be another kill for Cloud9. There's the double for Jensen, and a huge cleanup after the Baron.
Yeah, it just goes from bad to worse. Rainover was already low when that happened. C9 makes the incredibly good call to go straight for Baron. I also got to think Glorgo's got to cancel that teleport. Baron was completely dead, and they did not even have a full 5v5, so Team Liquid did make the call to fight, even though it was the wrong call. Everyone followed up, and it was a disaster.
Mountain of gold for Cloud9 to spend as well after this exchange. They got everything off of this, pretty much.
Yeah, Matt, Ward's inside, and they immediately call the teleport for the fight, but I mean, Baron's dead for 2 seconds by the time he teleports in. And the ward did give temporary vision before it got blocked out by the control ward. So once they're in the fight, there's really not much they can do. Point blank, dash in. Jensen is huge, so he pretty much just has to get in range for Double Lift to kill him. And they're able to pick up their kill on the backside of the fight.
And now Azonia's up for Jensen. I mean, Cloud9 just spent a big amount of gold. They're almost 10k up on TL. They're going to start this siege in the bottom lane. Ray is top. With his teleport as well, Lolo had to give up his for that Baron pickup. And 1v1, maybe even 1v2. Ray is in a pretty good position of power. Cloud9 have just slowly but surely taken over this game, and they usually push the pace from this point. Cloud9 have to think that, you know what, game one, we played it a little safer, fell behind a little bit early, but managed to close out cleanly in the end. This game, if Cloud9 have their way, should be even faster.
Yeah, it really feels like it. They have the 1-3-1 set up. They have both teleports up. They're able to get those plays without having to use their double teleport. They're going to have Baron-empowered minions in potentially all 3 lanes. The main risk is whether or not Team Liquid could get a flank initiation on them while they're trying to set up 3 lanes. Doing a 3-lane push like this is one of the most effective yet riskiest ways of trying to use your Baron buff. Actually pops the Rengar ultimate early, ward off that TL play, because all C9 need is to get all 3 waves to the turrets at the same time.
So they're almost getting there. Ray syncing up with the tier 2, so that'll be the 6th turret for Cloud9, and then all of a sudden it'll be just inhibitor turrets left, plus the Nexus turrets that are vulnerable for Team Liquid. Baron buff still a minute left to go, so Cloud9 have a couple of waves left to try and break open this base. And Jensen is such a nuisance as well. I mean, Ray, he's already chunked that turret down to almost dead. Lolo cannot 1v1 Camille at this point, with the Ravenous Hydra now finished.
You got Trinity Forces that chunk turrets, you got Lich Banes that chunk turrets. It's really hard for Team Liquid to defend this. Yeah,
bottom inhibitor turret falls down. Now the inhibitor itself is under threat. Matt is trying to break away contracts, but Ray, busy with his own business, busts up the top lane turret. And Piglet's here to try and make something happen. Inhibitor goes down, C9 do exactly what they need to do with the Baron buff, and that's almost maximum damage. Team Liquid gonna have a host of trouble trying to do something here as Double Lift is going for something awfully heroic, but Jensen just backs away easily.
Yeah, and he's not at the point where he can do that either. I mean, still unable to complete a Zeal, 1100 gold, but can't go back to base because of this constant pressure. And another turret going down or is being assaulted.
Contract ults again, looking for someone. Rainover is the foremost target. Rolo dives forward, but Contracts just leaps back in onto the Kha'Zix. Carla converted to join them. Ray does get the ultimate down. The Wild Growth on a Rainover might save him. And Ray goes down to Double Lift, who cashes in finally. Matt getting low as Jensen's on is in the front of the fight. Double Lift so he can keep it out. Charm misses from Piglet as Jensen flashes out of the way. Now sneaking the next target. Orb Deception chasing in. Double Lift flashes forward, gets another kill. Now Jensen is going to be the next target, but he takes out Double Lift and shatters TL's hopes of winning that fight.
Ray just gets bopped as he's trying to go in there, promptly buys a Guardian Angel as he goes back to base, and that is going to at least buy Team Liquid a little bit of time. Still 12,000 gold down, but at least to stop C9 from ending the game.
Well, Phantom Dance is now done for Double Lift, so his damage is starting to get there, but he could see an ace coming, but Jensen shut it down. Although C9 went a little too aggressive here.
He wanted so bad, and I mean, this is why I'm actually kind of surprised C9 decided to 5v5 instead of just pressuring the open inhibitor. Ray eats a charm. Most of that damage actually came from Piglet, and it's Double Lift who was able to cash in on the backside of this fight. Jensen gets very low. Piglet still has his dashes left, getting those Lich Bane procs. But then right here, it's just, yep, Jensen still got a lot of damage. Able to zip away right after everything's done.
Jensen's Echo, every time I've seen it this season, has looked phenomenal. And this game is no exception. Now a Rabadon's Death Cap complete, 10 stacks of the Dark Seal. And looks like Cloud9 will add a Mountain Drake to the tally. They continue to mount advantages over Team Liquid, who are in a impossibly difficult situation to try and come back from. That is slightly different from actually impossible, but
yep.
Not looking good.
We've seen big comebacks. They have a couple of Drakes on their side. I believe the Mountain Drake has gone over to Cloud9, so it's just... It's going to be tough.
Double has worked Magic before versus Cloud9 in difficult situations, but I don't think the lead was quite this good for Cloud9 in that particular game. We'll see if his Draven can dish it all out. I mean, Piglet's got a death cap as well, so the carries have damage built up. I mean, Lolo's a little paper thin at this point as far as tankiness goes, so the fights don't last too long, but if Team Liquid can find a pick, that's a good start to maybe winning a team fight and clawing their way back into the game.
Absolutely, and C9 just making sure they're getting the right defensive itemization in with Zonias being completed by Jensen, GA on Ray, try and make those mistakes not happen again. They've cleared most of the turrets that matter. It is kind of just about making sure they have control of the jungle, because the next time C9 would look to really end the game would be around the Baron buff. But if they can just walk up and get free damage, why not?
Yeah, I mean, Sneaky's got a shield on. Team Liquid very slow to react to this play, and that turret goes down. Jensen also working up his inhibitor. Any free time he gets with it will be huge chunks of damage with the Lich Bane. I mean, Team Liquid have to pull the trigger soon.
Yeah, well, there's Lorlo. Good luck.
Found him. There he is looking for the flank. Sneaky gets himself out, flashes over, and Ray ties up the rest of the team. His GA's going to pop it. That's going to buy time for Jensen once more. Contract does go down to Piglet, but Jensen on the background looking to assassinate Matt. He does get the first kill as he's now dominating. Ulti's back in towards the carries, trying to get some more damage done. Doublelift has to be careful as the mid inhibitor will fall as well.
Yeah, not a bad start for the fight. Let's see if they can keep going.
Jensen locked up, good stun by Lolo, but Jensen does finally get shut down by Piglet. I think the last auto did it as Doublelift whirls around with his ultimate. But Ray takes out the other inhibitor. Team Liquid, they get a couple of kills, but they lose most of their base for it.
It comes at great cost. They do lose their entire base. Baron is still up, so TL pretty much just can't leave and is on full defensive duty. Watching this one more time, though, you can see C9's got pretty good disengage tools. Lorlo doesn't even get his W in, but they instantly kill Ray, or at least proc his Guardian Angel, then double onto Contracts. He kind of got stuck over the wall there and couldn't really have an impact on this fight, so that's why we saw Team Liquid have this time. Jensen missed by what felt like inches on his ultimate to get damage on the double. That hurts. And now TL trying to rush, but they're going to lose their base.
All right, Matt, the lone defender versus Ray. Oh, no, he's not going to last very long.
Oh, no.
Ultimatum issue, that's a kill.
Oh, no. Okay, this is happening. They're trying for Baron.
Baron, they're going to try and get it. Can they do it? They will get it. Ray never managed to tag it, but Doublelift is dead, and Ray is busy finishing the job. Cloud9 going to commit Jensen's teleport as well, and the Nexus is wide open for the taking. Piglet looking for the 1v2 defense. Jensen shuts that all down. Piglet puts to bed. No, not quite. Jensen managing to get the ultimate back in, but Next is exposed, and he slams it down. Cloud9 complete the sweep.
Yeah, and they finish it off in style. When we mentioned that TL was kind of stuck in full-on base defense, that's why. Because as soon as they try and go for Baron, you're against double TP, guys. So C9 just double TP'd into the base and closed out the 2-0. So the Doublelift experiment for Team Liquid is not off to the best starts, but people didn't necessarily expect it to be. They're up against Cloud9 right off the bat. Still going to take a long time for them to gel. And C9, they keep it rolling.
I mean, Cloud9 definitely expected it to be straightforward for them. Ray comes in, has a decent-looking game, and Cloud9 complete a straightforward game for themselves. Liquid, on the other hand, it will take time for this team to gel. I think Doublelift looks individually about as good as he did. I think still shaking off some rust here, but the bigger adjustment for him will be to this team. And when you say they need time to gel, that's where you start to worry, because Liquid, it will take some amount of time to get together. They just don't have a lot of that.
Yeah, there are only 5 matches remaining in their schedule, and they just moved to 3-10. So a big uphill battle for Team Liquid, and nothing but smiles from C9. Ray comes in. It is a successful sub. Even though he was only 2-3-7, set up a lot of plays for Jensen. So credit to them. We'll see if they continue to do some swapping, because that feels like what their goal is to have 2 slightly different looks. Ray the split push kind of carry-ish wildcard guy, and Impact is just The Rock, who is always successful in his games on a tank, and it's been interesting for C9.
It certainly has, and I think Cloud9 have to think simple win there for them. Ray gets some time on stage again. I mean, these are all things where Cloud9 at this point, they're looking at playoffs saying, obviously, we want to finish as high as possible in the regular season, still looking to clinch first, and then forward to that. I mean, if Ray is sharpened when you get to playoffs and you have a real top lane threat that you can sub in, that's a huge win for Cloud9 moving into trying to get this spring championship.
Yeah, it really is. And Reaper has done a lot of this last split when they were switching between Smoothie and Bunny Fufu. This doesn't seem like one of those situations where he's really going to try and make a full-on call. But, I mean, once again, this was a first place versus last place matchup. It had all of the injected hype because of Doublift and because of Piglet moving to mid lane and because there's all this hype built up between Team Liquid. I'm wondering, with the way Matt looked in this series, not having much success on Lulu, which kind of seemed to be the pick he was trying to prep and make come out, I wonder how long it is until we see Adrian, since they did acquire him as a substitute. And still plenty of questions for Team Liquid as they move towards the rest of the split.
And again, they'll have to answer them very quickly. They do not have a lot of time. They've got tough matches to play ahead for the remainder of their schedule. But I kind of like what you said about Adrian. Historically, if you're looking for a guy to protect the hyper carry, Adrian's pretty good at that.
Yeah, as long as your hyper carry is having the good games. Definitely not a good Draven performance by Doublift. Piglet, the main performer on that side, and just a tough match.
Certainly is. I mean, it's hard to say much more for Team Liquid. They'll continue moving forward, seeing if they can continue to make changes and look good. But we are going to send it over to Captain Flowers, who's waiting on stage with the newest addition to the Team Liquid roster.
Thank you very much, guys. I'm here with Doublift, the man himself. And now, the first thing I got to do for this interview, I've got to ask you the question on my mind, on everybody else's mind. What is it like being back in the North American LCS?
Feels like I'm coming home, it's very comfortable, very like what I'm used to. And honestly, I thought I would be able to transition like pretty smooth, but actually it's not so easy. And I mean, I've been away for 5 months, and I was kind of nervous for this match because it's like my debut performance after a long time. So, I mean, it's been a long time since I've been nervous for an LCS match, I'm not going to lie. Like, even in the finals, wasn't very nervous. Finals of last split. So, yeah, like, it just, it's like very refreshing, I guess. And I really like it. It's really fun.
Hey, the nerves just show that you're invested in what you're doing, right? And you talk about coming back into it. What's it like coming back now, playing with a lot of the players that you've played against in the past? We know that you guys don't exactly have a lot of time to practice together before this match, but what's the team atmosphere been like so far?
Well, I only got to play with TL for one day, so my experience has been pretty limited, but the atmosphere is really good. Like, and I'm not just saying that, it actually is like very nice, and everyone's really like courteous and just like agreeable. I think part of it is when you're doing poorly as a team, nobody wants to be like a jerk and ruin the team environment. And, there has been like a stigma with like TL's breaking point and stuff and like all that talk about like toxicity that I feel like that's really changed the team to be really just nice, good environment, and really positive.
Positive environments yield positive results more often than not. And speaking of positive results, you guys have one more match to play this weekend. It's going to be against Envy on Sunday. How do you guys feel, how do you particularly feel about still being able to take this team to playoffs?
Well, I got to play with TL for one day before C9, and that's the first place team, so I'm a lot more confident against Envy. Obviously, I played really bad the second game on Draven. I think I was just really nervous, that's all. And but overall, I think my performance and like my play is really good, and everyone on the team is like very good individually. So I think I just need to step up my shot calling a little bit, and Envy should be pretty interesting match, good match. I don't want to say free, but it should be easy for us.
All right, one last question, and this one is probably going to be the most important of all. Now, I've heard some rumors going around that the real reason that you are back in the North American LCS is to avoid running into Cutie Pie and solo queue. Can you provide me with whether or not there's any truth to that?
Dude, I was ranked higher than Cutie Pie for like 5 months, and the one time that he's higher ranked than me, he like has to rub it in my face. But no, Cutie Pie is boosted garbage. So.
There you go, ladies and gentlemen. The truth has come out. You heard it from the lips of the man himself. Now we're going to go ahead and throw it back to the guys on the analyst desk. Take it away.
It is good to have you back in the North American LCS, Doublift.
Benefits of coming back to the LCS, you get to trash talk the opponents when you're live on broadcast with plenty of viewers.
Yeah, big stage to be throwing trash talk around. But although the victory did not fall in favor of Team Liquid today, 2-0 for Cloud9, kind of to be expected. As we mentioned at the top of the day, number 1 against number 10, we already knew that this was going to be quite the uphill battle for a reformed Team Liquid roster with 1 day of practice. Doublelift, though, talking about how it's nice to be home, at the LCS. And
warms my heart.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe playing with too much comfort on the stage, actually, pointing out the Draven here in Game 2 of his LCS return.
He said he was going to bring North American solo queue to the LCS, and he did just that.
Man of his word.
Yeah, picking Draven right into double poke. I always like, poke champions versus Draven because there's this big shining circle on the ground where it's probably going to walk over there to catch his axe.
Yep.
And Smoothie and Sneaky did a really good job of punishing him, landing a lot of poke early. There was no snowball early on, and they were actually losing some pressure on that bottom side of the map.
And that's the big thing here, right? In contrast to Game 1, where Team Liquid was able to get out to early advantages across all 3 lanes. In fact, just the opposite happens this time around. 3 kills going over to C9 early.
And I like this replay because I really wanted to revisit Reignover. And it starts out with him going for a very risky gank onto the bottom lane, where, again, they are getting pressured heavily. Plus, there's Jensen has control of mid lane, and the teleports are ready, so Cloud9 just jump on this opportunity.
Right, that's the thing. You're making an aggressive play there into a double teleport team. Therefore, Piglet gets beat over to the side lane by quite a bit. Now it's a 4v5. You're already at a numbers disadvantage.
And then this is, another form of macro, another form of shot calling that we can, attack for Team Liquid. As they, said, they've got a lot of stuff in that area to work on.
Yep.
The re-engagement there, definitely the timing was off, plus 4v5 to begin with, and not like a huge amount of cooldowns were burned in killing Doublelift in the first place.
Yep.
So definitely multiple layers in that one.
A nice ultimate by Jensen there, who was, playing the team fights well, excelling in the team fights, struggling a little bit in lane. And I don't know, I don't know whether or not half of it looked like overconfidence. I'm playing against a non-mid laner in the mid lane, and I look at myself as top, the top or top 2 mid laner, and maybe getting a little bit bullish with it. He got a couple 1v1s turned around on.
So, yeah, because, Jensen is definitely one of those mid laners where we associate a certain attitude with him.
Yeah.
It definitely adds to that, it's him like a little bit disrespecting and going kind of low health versus Piglet. He gets solo killed like, I don't know, maybe 3+ times in this series by Piglet.
Right.
And a lot of them look like very disrespectful moves. Whether he would have done that versus someone who was a mid lane main or something.
Yep.
Is kind of irrelevant because Jensen was making a lot of very hubris-heavy choices.
Right, and now where in Game 1, Team Liquid had a slight lead that they then forfeited to C9 with a single fight that led into Baron. This time around, C9 with the lead kind of from the beginning had a lot more comfortability playing around the map, which brings us to that 26-minute mark where they get a 4-for-0 plus the Baron.
Yeah, this replay, not only are they going to be able to get it, but as they went over, some chase down kills here. Jensen, again, has been one of the highlights. Right over there. I mean, the way that he's played team fights on Echo, AP Echo, not just the tank Echo, where it's a lot easier to run right into the center, all season long has really been extraordinary and gotten him, quite a few nods already, but deserving of yet another one.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, he's going to get another one.
Despite getting solo killed when you go back to the mid lane after making a big play, then he's like, oh, okay, back to mid lane with Piglet.
Right, he had that sick old bot lane and then walks mid and plays super aggressively, having just blown his flash, and against an Ahri that has both flash and ignite. But even so, Jensen picking up player of the game for those team fights, really putting in the damage and being the assassin that they needed to take out that Draven. Because at a certain point, Doublelift was getting to, a scary place.
He cashed in.
Yeah, exactly. You get a couple kills, and all of a sudden, Draven is something to be feared. But,
I mean, he was an item down below Sneaky so I don't know if the fear was quite there, but anytime you hear the noise and the cash in, you're like, okay, we'll pay attention now.
All right, so Cloud9, they pick up an expected win here. I want to talk about Team Liquid moving forward because, once again, we have to remember that at the beginning of the day, we did not expect them to come away with even a game, yet let alone the series. But now let's look forward to Sunday, playing against Envy. This is a very winnable series for Team Liquid. Do you think...
Easy, as Doublelift said.
yeah, or as Doublelift puts it, it's going to be the easiest game of his life. No, I misquoted there. But I want to look at that matchup and say, all right, well, with now now only 5 games left in the season and 2 wins to make up to 7th place. This is a very important series against Envy coming up. Do we think that in another 24 hours worth of time, they're going to be able to shore up a few of these weaknesses and maybe find a bit of identity that was lacking in this one?
The identity thing, definitely true. You know, what direction are they going to play? Because it did look like, okay, we're just going to pick Renekton and double if you can pick whatever you want in the bottom lane. Piglet's going to kind of take the leftovers of what's left in the mid champion pool.
Right.
But versus Envy, definitely a much easier opponent, and the extra practice time is also going to help them out. I'm curious to see what they build on, but they did show quite a few things need cleaning up in this series, not to mention just, oh yeah, they've got a AD carry player playing mid and, you know, double lift is coming in, you know, back to competitive pretty fresh. But definitely the macro things as well is some team-focused practice, I think, should help them.
Absolutely. All right, well, they get tomorrow to work on that. Sunday will be their game against Envy. That's not all the league action that we have in store for you today, though. Up next, FlyQuest hit the Rift against Phoenix 1 in a battle for 3rd place. Don't go anywhere. More North American LCS when we return.
Jensen, second best mid over Bjergsen. Oh no, he's third. Yeah, I forgot, guys.
Further away, but Ray finds him over the wall, looking to stun up Double Lift, gets the Hextech ultimatum down, but hard to stand and fight. Wild Growth is on for the stun land from Jensen, and Double Lift does flash out of the back end of the timeline, ulti down, but Jensen grabs first blood. Phase dives back in, slaps Matt in the back end, Sneaky is gonna look for the snipe, it's close, Matt, doesn't get 2, but he gets 1, Rainover falls down.
Mantra E, 3 seconds, 2, 1, Mantra E.
가직.
Don't flash.
And Cloud9 complete the sweep.